The biblical story of Queen Esther is found in the Book of Esther in the Old Testament. It's a compelling narrative of courage, divine providence, and the salvation of the Jewish people from annihilation. Here's a summary of the key events. 1. Queen Vashti's demise and the search for a new queen, Esther 1-2. King Ahasuerus, also known as Xerxes I of Persia, throws a lavish banquet. During the celebration, he commands his queen, Vashti, to appear before him to display her beauty. Queen Vashti refuses, leading to her banishment and a decree that all wives should respect their husbands. To find a new queen, Ahasuerus gathers beautiful virgins from across his vast empire. Among them is a young Jewish orphan named Hadassah, who goes by her Persian name, Esther. Esther is favored by Hegai, the eunuch in charge of the harem, and eventually by the king, who chooses her to be his new queen. Following the advice of her cousin and guardian Mordecai, Esther conceals her Jewish identity. Haman's plot and Mordecai's loyalty, Esther 3:4. Haman, a high-ranking official in King Ahasuerus' court, is elevated to a position of great power, and everyone is commanded to bow down to him. Mordecai, however, refuses to bow to Haman because of his Jewish faith. This infuriates Haman. Discovering that Mordecai is a Jew, Haman plots not only to destroy Mordecai, but all the Jews throughout the Persian Empire. He casts lots, Purim, to determine the day of their destruction. Haman then persuades the king to issue a decree authorizing the extermination of the Jews on a specific day. Mordecai learns of Haman's wicked plan and goes into deep mourning. He sends a message to Queen Esther, urging her to intercede with the king on behalf of their people. Esther initially hesitates, explaining that approaching the king unsummoned is punishable by death. Mordecai then delivers his famous challenge to Esther. "Do not think that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther 4:13-14. Esther agrees to act, instructing Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Susa to fast and pray for 3 days on her behalf. She declares, "If I perish, I perish." 3. Esther's courage and Haman's downfall, Esther 5-7. After 3 days, Esther bravely approaches the king without being summoned. The king extends his golden scepter, signifying that her life is spared. The king asks Esther what her request is, even offering her up to half his kingdom. Instead of immediately revealing Haman's plot, Esther invites the king and Haman to a banquet. At the first banquet, the king again asks Esther for her request, and she invites them to a second banquet the following night. This delay creates suspense and allows for a crucial turn of events. That night, the king cannot sleep and orders the royal chronicles to be read to him. He discovers a record of Mordecai having previously foiled an assassination plot against him, for which Mordecai had never been rewarded. The king asks Haman how a man who the king wishes to honor should be treated. Haman, believing the king wants to honor him, suggests a grand public display of honor. The king then commands Haman to bestow this honor on Mordecai, forcing Haman to lead his enemy through the city streets. At the second banquet, the king once more asks Esther for her request. This time, Esther reveals her Jewish identity and exposes Haman's wicked scheme to destroy her and her people. The king, enraged, orders Haman to be hanged on the very gallows Haman had prepared for Mordecai. 4. Deliverance and the Feast of Purim, Esther 8-10. Though Haman is dead, the decree to annihilate the Jews remains in effect and cannot be revoked according to Persian law. Esther and Mordecai appeal to the king to issue a new decree that allows the Jews to defend themselves against their attackers on the day the original decree was to be carried out. The king grants their request, and a new edict is sent throughout the empire, empowering the Jews to gather and protect themselves. On the appointed day, the Jews successfully defend themselves against their enemies, and many who sought to harm them are defeated. The story concludes with the establishment of the festival of Purim, named after the Pur, or Lot-Haman caste, to commemorate the Jewish people's deliverance. The Book of Esther highlights themes of divine providence. Even though God is not explicitly mentioned, His hand is seen throughout the coincidences and reversals, courage, responsibility, and the importance of standing up for one's people.